The dog slammed the toddler to the ground. Again. His parents thought he'd turned dangerous. They had it backwards. Dana Rashidi had trained dogs for 11 years. Privately, in shelters, at the K-9 unit her ex-husband ran before they separated. She had placed 73 dogs in homes. She had pulled 6 from families who hadn't listened to her early enough. She knew what a dog that had lost its threshold looked like. She had seen it move from fixation to contact in under 4 seconds, and she had been the one who wrote the incident report afterward. She was certain, watching Duke from across the kitchen, that she was watching the beginning of that pattern. She was wrong. She had never been more wrong about anything in her professional life. Duke was a 4-year-old boxer, fawn coat, cropped ears, 68 pounds, and he had been with Tomas before Tomas could walk. He had been gentle the way big dogs choose to be gentle, which is entirely different from the way small dogs are gentle. Because size means the choice is always visible. For 3.5 years, the choice had always been the same. Then Tomas turned 22 months old, and Duke started pressing him down. Not biting, not snapping, pressing. Front paws on the boy's chest, nose directly at his face, holding there for 10, 15, 20 seconds. Tomas would cry and push back, and Duke would not yield. The first time it happened, Dina separated them immediately. She ran a full behavioral assessment on Duke that afternoon. No resource guarding triggers, no territorial markers, no pain responses. His reactivity profile was clean. She had no clinical framework for what she had just watched, so she built one from what she knew. A dog fixating on a vulnerable child was a dog approaching its threshold. She had seen this before. She said so. Her partner Marcus, who had not trained dogs and who would have deferred to Dana about anything involving them, agreed without hesitation. You're the expert. Whatever you think. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you are in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. They moved Duke to the laundry room during Tomas's waking hours. He barked for 90 minutes, then went silent. The silence was worse. The next morning, Tomas walked into the kitchen at 7 a.m., and Duke, who was not supposed to be loose, was already there. The laundry room door had a lever handle. Dina did not know he could operate a lever handle. He had Tomas down before she crossed the room, paws on the boy's chest, nose at his face. Tomas's arms were pushing against the dog's shoulders and going nowhere. Dina pulled Duke back by the collar with both hands. He turned and looked at her with an expression she had seen on dogs before, steady, deliberate. A dog that had not lost its threshold, but was trying to reach something. She did not know how to read that in this context. She called her colleague, a certified behaviorist with 30 years in the field. He came that afternoon, watched Duke for 40 minutes, and said the words she had already been preparing to accept. He should not be around this child. The risk calculus has changed. Marcus's mother, Elaine, came over that evening. She watched Tomas playing and watched Duke watching from the laundry room gate, and said it the way older women say the things they've decided are true. You've got to get rid of that dog. Better safe than sorry. Dina called a rescue the following morning. Appointment was set for Friday. Thursday night, Tomas had his first seizure. He was on the living room floor, and he simply stopped being present. Eyes open, body rigid, then shaking. Dana got to him in seconds. Marcus called 911. The ambulance arrived in 9 minutes. At the Children's Hospital, Dr. Yolanda Ferris, pediatric endocrinologist, ran the blood work, reviewed the history, and sat with them both and said what they could not have anticipated. Tomas had type 1 diabetes, likely for several weeks. His glucose levels had been crashing and spiking episodically. His body had been in metabolic distress. No test in the home, no visible symptom that read to a parent as chemical rather than behavioral. The irritability they had noticed was a symptom. The fatigue, the crying, the seizure was the crisis point of a slide that had been building for at least a month. Has your dog ever done something that made no sense until it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. She looked at Dena directly. She said, "Has anyone been able to explain what triggered the seizure in that moment?" Dina said Tomas had been calm all evening. She said Duke had been in the laundry room the entire time. Then she stopped talking. Because Duke had gotten the door open at 6:47 p.m. She had put him back, and Tomas had seized at 7:12. Dr. Ferris told them that hypoglycemic distress produces isoprene compounds in exhaled breath, detectable to dogs at concentrations far below human perception or clinical instrumentation. A dog in proximity to a child with uncontrolled glucose instability would be reading a chemical alarm in that child's breath every time they were near each other. Pressing his face to the boy's face was not aggression. It was the only tool Duke had. The only thing he could do with the information he could not stop receiving. Dina canceled the rescue appointment from a chair in the hospital hallway. She didn't call Marcus. She just sat there with the phone in her hand for a while. She had placed 73 dogs correctly. She had read Duke the way she had read every dog before him, through the framework she'd built from what she'd seen. The framework had no room for what Duke was actually doing. Every guardian deserves to be seen, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. Subscribe so you never miss the next one. Duke was waiting at the front door when they brought Tomas home. He did not jump. He did not push. He lowered his head and walked beside the boy to the living room and lay down 3 feet away, close enough to smell, far enough to give room. Tomas has a continuous glucose monitor now, a small oval device on his upper arm. When the alarm goes off, Marcus gets there first. Duke always gets there before Marcus. Not running. Just already present. Already positioned. Already reading the number no device invented yet can read faster than him.